Hey, what's up? I got some more lore content for you guys. I'm Tempo Mao, a longtime lore content creator, also a multi-rank 1 gamer and top 32 seasonal player, and I'm here to help you learn the necessary tools to climb any rank in Legends of Runeterra, all the way from Iron to Master. So with that, let's get right into it. If you're brand new to the game or you just haven't hopped into ranked yet, then I have some great tips for starting your climb in Iron. The main thing you should focus on is, simply enough, learning the basic mechanics of the game through experience. Understanding how to attack, block, play spells, and other fundamental aspects of the game should be picked up in your first few sessions of play. I also recommend playing a mix of tutorial challenges, AI, and also PvP in order to maximize seeing a variety of decks and playstyles. At this point, pick any deck that speaks to you based on design or champions you just find cool, and get used to the core gameplay mechanics. I've heard many players experience ranked anxiety when starting the game, especially if you're not used to playing competitive games in general. Well, I have some good news for you. In Iron, you can't even lose ranked points for losing games, so you're not punished for learning from your mistakes. You get to keep any points you gain during wins and never go down from there, basically providing a low-risk environment to play in. Also, a really cool thing to note is that when you finally promote to Bronze, you can't demote back down into Iron. This remains true whenever you rank up to the next major division. You can't demote from Diamond to Platinum, Platinum to Gold, etc. So just get out there, learn the game, and have fun. Speaking of fun, I think that should be your primary focus when you hit Bronze. After getting through Iron and learning the fundamentals, I recommend researching and learning the different playstyles that Legends of Runeterra has to offer. This is the most important time to find out what you're going to have the most fun with in order to enjoy the game as a whole. I would say find a deck that you're pretty confident you want to play for at least a few weeks. That way you can maximize your learning potential while also farming extra resources to build more decks later on. You don't want to spread your resources thin early. Another quick tip, I would recommend re-rolling your missions into generic ones that can be completed with whatever deck you're playing. You can hold up to 3 missions, but you also get 1 free reroll per day with a cap of 2 rerolls in the bank, so use them whenever it's convenient. This will make your Thursday weekly vaults more efficient while you're grinding. Moving on to Silver. Once you've conquered Bronze, you're going to start seeing more well put together decks and quite possibly fully constructed meta decks as well. Although the pilots of these decks may not play perfectly, bad cards filling up your deck will start becoming problematic. The main thing that I think is important to focus on in order to get through Silver is figuring out all the ins and outs of your own deck. Whether you're net decking, playing a homebrew, or some combination, when you're in Silver, it's best to focus on learning the different lines of play your deck has access to, along with how it plans to win every game using these lines. That way you can take advantage of a knowledge gap between you and your opponent. If you learn your deck, even if it isn't like the top 5 in the meta, you can very easily beat a Silver player piloting even the best deck in the game. Try to figure out your deck's game plan starting right from turn 1 and how it wants to win. I cannot stress this enough. It's not time to worry about everything the opponent is doing yet. Just focus on your own deck. As you play towards your win cons, players will naturally try to stop you or kill you before you can win. This will help give you passive knowledge about matchups as you climb through Silver. You'll understand what cards slow you down and what strategies outpace you without having to overthink every move the opponents make. Once you get to Gold, now it's time to focus on the opponent, assuming you have a firm grasp about how your deck wants to win. You should have gained some good passive knowledge in the climb so far to understand general traits of certain regions, champion combos, and what common cards are played against you. Now is a good time to play multiple decks in order to understand what your opponents are trying to do while they're playing these different decks. It's also okay to main multiple decks at this point, as long as you've mastered the Silver tactic of learning the ins and outs of each deck as you play them. Watching streams and videos covering multiple decks is also recommended, so you can become a well-rounded player with a strong core understanding of the game being played at the Gold level. Moving on to Platinum. Really applying your understanding of the general strategy of every deck you come across is now super important. Being able to determine that the champions or region combination you're fighting is an aggro deck, control deck, etc., and then playing accordingly. You need to be able to determine which player is the aggressor and which one is trying to play defensively. This can also change depending on turn order, resources, and ever-changing board states. Learning this strategical tug of war will help a lot in order to hit Diamond. Something that will also really help as a pre-skill of Diamond is playing your hands out so that you leave some mana for potential buff cards, strike spells, or burn depending on what deck you're playing, so that you have the ability to outplay your opponent when they get greedy and run out of mana for the turn. Speaking of which, hey, congrats, now you're Diamond. How should you make that final push to Master? Don't worry, I have the secret sauce for you. Oftentimes in Diamond, your matches feel like a flowchart. Both players are usually playing close to optimal, so you can start guessing what the opponent is going to do on each turn. Knowing certain cards are coming and being able to factor them into your own game plan is really, really important for getting through Diamond. This is also the rank where your mulligans are going to get punished, so it's time to master mulliganing and knowing what cards to not only go for in general, but what you should be looking for in different matchups. What are you keeping for aggro? What do you need to edge out against control decks? These are very important questions to find answers to. Every mistake you make in Diamond will get punished much more severely than the previous ranks, so it's important to play each game as perfect as you can if you want to hit Master. And finally, you've achieved the highest rank, but there's still more you want to do. You want to hit top 200, 100, 50, maybe even rank 1, and you want to play the in-client tournaments against the best players. Well then, here's what I suggest you do to climb through Master rank. First and foremost, you need to be well versed in the meta, knowing the top 5 to 10 decks that are being played, and all of their matchup spreads. What's good into them, what's bad, which ones are broken, all that stuff. So far this has all been out of game, but within the game itself, there are 2 key skills of top players that I want to touch on. Number 1 is playing out your hand so that every card that you want to resolve has a role of some sort. Allocating resources to certain cards in order to make your hand make the most sense it can. For example, if you have single combat, form up, and confront all in your hand, I guess you're playing dragons. But making sure you float turn 2 itself is super important so you can play out these cards if they need to come up, even if you have a 2-cost unit in hand. It's important you determine the value of that 2-drop compared to the outplay potential of your spells. By floating, you can make your hand of units make more sense now because you have spells to protect them instead of not having mana and making those cards never be able to be played. The second key skill is hand reading. Paying attention to your opponent's mulligan or lack of mulligan and determining what that could possibly mean for your turns 1 through 4. Then noticing cards they keep in their hand for a big portion of the game and the statistical probability that a certain card is in their hand based on how the game has gone. I'm sure that chat thinks I'm a magician sometimes when I correctly call 3 cards back to back to back that the opponents resolve in the mid to late game. But I can assure you it's not magic. It's a combination of intuition, putting myself in my opponent's shoes, and also paying attention to what cards have been played over the course of the game. And that, my friends, was what to focus on in each rank in order to climb and become the best Legends of Runeterra player that you can possibly be. Make sure to send this video to your friends no matter what rank they are, so they have a good understanding of what skills to work on next. Also, comment below what rank you are and what your favorite deck to climb with is. I read all of my comments, so don't be shy. And that's it for this one. Please like and subscribe if you thought this video was informative or entertaining. It really helps me out. I'll be releasing more deck profiles, guides, gameplay highlights, and meta reports in the near future. Thank you so much for watching and have a good one. Laters!